to Women Making Moves, where we celebrate the moves that women are making. My name is Amy Pons, founder of Unlock the Magic, Coaching, Healing, and Marketing. I'm joined today with Dr. Salisha Allard-Blaisdell. Dr. Salisha is the founder and executive director of Shara Foundation. She is a beacon of resilience and empowerment, hailing from Eastern Caribbean island of Grenada. Her transformative journey from the depths of multi-generational poverty to becoming a trailblazing scholar and advocate reflects on unwavering commitment to positive youth development, leadership effectiveness, and women's advancement in leadership. Born into adversity, Dr. Allard-Blaisdell faced expulsion from primary school at the tender age of 8. While navigating the challenges of her mother's hospitalization and, tragically, orphanage placement at 9 following her mother's demise. Despite the formidable odds stacked against her, she defied expectations, overcoming the barriers of illiteracy until the age of 12 and enduring the loss of her father to Hurricane Ivan at 15. Undeterred by her tumultuous beginnings, Dr. Allard-Blaisdell's academic achievements stand as testaments to her indomitable spirit. She earned a bachelor's degree in English from Brigham Young University, Hawaii in 2012, and a Master of Public Administration from Rutgers University, the #1 internationally accredited MPA program, in 2016. Her trajectory into leadership effectiveness began with a decade of dedicated service in the nonprofit and public sectors, culminating in the acquisition of a Master of Applied Leadership Theory in 2021 and a PhD in Organizational Leadership in 2022, both from Northwest University. Notably, she made history by becoming the first Black woman to defend a PhD at Northwest University, achieving this remarkable feat at the age of 32. Dr. Allard-Blaisdell's impact extends beyond academic excellence. With a wealth of experience collaborating with diverse communities, service agencies, higher education institutions, and nonprofits, she has orchestrated impactful service days, significant events, and cultural awareness activities. As a scholar practitioner, her research and practice are devoted to empowering youth, women, and families in under-resourced communities, making her a global thought leader advocating for women's advancement in leadership roles. In 2023, Dr. Allard-Blaisdell was granted permanent residency in the United States due to her advanced degree and exceptional ability to execute a mentorship program which she designed. This mentorship program was deemed to be of national interest to the United States. Additionally, in February 2024, Dr. Allard-Blaisdell was also recognized by the United States government as having extraordinary abilities in the field of business, indicating that she is one of the small percentage of people who have risen to the very top of the field. She now serves as a managing member of KB Business Services, LLC, offering crucial support to business, including nonprofit organizations, to enhance their operations. She also aids students across academic levels in achieving their goals. Beyond her professional pursuits, Dr. Allard-Blaisdell calls Salt Lake City, Utah home, where she engages in adventures with her 11-year-old daughter, Kaylin. Her personal journey and dedication to uplifting others exemplify a remarkable fusion of academic achievement, leadership, and compassion, making Dr. Salisha Allard-Blaisdell a truly extraordinary force for positive change. Dr. Salisha, welcome.
Thank you. You know, at the beginning of our conversation, before we began recording, you told me that you're a healer, right? That's part of the work that you did. And as you were reading my bio, which I obviously wrote, but I haven't read it to myself. As you were reading it, I was like, that's me. So I am feeling healed. I'm feeling proud, honored, and even motivated to continue to support people. So thank you for reading that, because it just hit different, hearing somebody read it as opposed to me writing it.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for that gift of that feedback, because that is exactly when someone asks me, how are you a healer? I'm like, in a very unique way. I have clairsentience and claircognizance, so I coach primarily women to reach into what's always been there inside them and that we've been taught or trained out of, and said, you can. And through that reminding, we've always known, like almost tapping back before we even got here to this earth, because the moment we were conceived, we downloaded our lineage of any sort of those traumas or those trained conditioning, those beliefs. So tapping back into the soul plane and saying, once you remember that and stand firm in that, holy cow.
Yeah.
And I'm floored by you. I've been so excited to talk with you. There's just so many things I was lighting up during your bio. And Grenada is my favorite place in the world, as I shared with you. For those who don't know, Grenada is the #1 grower of nutmeg for the world.
Yes.
I went into the foothills and picked some fresh nutmeg. It was awesome.
Nice.
and I always want to get back there. So I just think it's so beautiful that we're able to meet today because I didn't know that until today.
Yes, so it means we have to go to Grenada together sometime in the near future.
I would love that so much, so much. Oh my gosh. And I also, my BA is in English, so we have that in common.
Nice.
I laugh because, sure, I've used it throughout my life. I'm 42, but honestly, I didn't know what I wanted. I changed my major 5 times. It took me 5 years to graduate college. I was just told you have to go to college. I didn't really have like a North Star. And even now, returning to my true calling, my soul calling, of course, there's schools for healing, coaching, etc. And marketing is still in my purview because that's what I did for 20 years and that comes easy to me. For entrepreneurs, their zone of genius is not marketing. It's like, okay, let's take this off your plate because you deserve to shine yourself. So, oh my gosh, Dr. Salisha, where do we even start? How's your heart?
How is my heart?
Yeah.
Well, my heart is beating. I mean, I don't know. I'm feeling a lot of things right now. A lot of like emotions. Some of it is happy, some of it is sad, some of it is just confused. But I really and truly appreciate like just that moment of you reading my bio, and like it forced me to still listen to who I am, listen about me. And I actually feel a little bit more regrounded than when I started this meeting. I literally had sent one of my dear friends a voice note, like kind of telling her how I'm feeling, like I have that relationship with her. And I came here smiling, but really not smiling. My heart was more like bleeding because I'm confused, sad, stressed with other things. But like you kind of drew me back to remind me of who I am and almost like what's my purpose. You gotta keep going. Yes, things are hard, but this is you. This is like flamboyant you. Things are gonna be hard, but you got this. So I honestly, my heart is feeling a little bit more healed, actually a lot more healed. I'm feeling somewhat grounded again, like, okay, you got this.
Exquisite. You're spot on. And any given moment, I go through those same peaks and valleys. I feel strong because we're a mirror for each other right now. I feel your power, you feel mine. And so we're unstoppable. And it's hard the moment we step outside this conversation, the world comes back. And honestly, it's not the vibe of toxic positivity. It's not just slapping a smile on because we got to get through life. No, feel your feels, feel everything that's going on. You get to decide as a unique individual how much energy that external something takes. And it's hard to say that, especially at a time where people's livelihoods are literally being removed every single day. Any safety they felt is being removed. That's hard. That's hard to maintain. So I try to go inward first. I deal with chakras. So how are my chakras? What's happening? What am I feeling? Because I also feel the weight of the collective. My point in saying all this to you is we're allowed to feel more than one thing at once. Our hearts will be bleeding for various reasons at any given moment. And I would be happy to read your bio back to you any moment, any time, any day, any time of day to remind you. It's like that light inside of you. And then to your point, grounding into Mother Earth and saying, ooh, she's got us. Thank you for sharing your heart.
Thank you. The immediate things is more even like sometimes you're trying to catch a breath that you can't even think about the next breath, so
I'm hugging your heart if you can feel it.
Thank you.
Dr. Salisha, why was academic excellence or academic achievement so important to you? Because you have it.
Yes, thank you so much. It is still very important to me. Like, if you know, like, I'm Salisha, 2 things you'll know about me. Like, immediately after meeting me, you would know my name is Salisha. You would know that I'm from Grenada because I'm very patriotic about being Grenadian. But that's what you would know. And you'll probably find out that I have a daughter and education is my number one thing. Like, I am overly passionate about education. And I'm glad that you asked me why, because a lot of the times, maybe somebody may not understand why I care so deeply about education when it can be argued that education is not everything. Of course, to so many people, it may not be. But for me, it was my only lifeline literally and figuratively, it was my only lifeline. After my mom died and I was in the orphanage, I got to live with the man I know who's my dad. I've never actually found out if he's my biological dad. He's the guy my mom was seeing before she died. So he came to take me, and he raised me from the age of 10 until I was 15. And he died. He was like 68, 69 when he got me. And then he died when he was 74. So I was growing up, a young little girl growing up with an older, elderly man in a very old house, which I had the opportunity to see it when I went back to Grenada just last summer. It's still standing, and it brought so much memories as I actually like saw the house. But growing up with an old man in that old house, I was treated as nothing. I was like literally the vile of the community. Like, no, everybody scorned me. I was disgusting. I was dirty. Like, I was just not the person that, in fact, I had no friends because kids would like scorn me or beat me up. And my father was like, oh yeah, that's fine. Just stay at home. So I never went anywhere. Like, I literally lived 2 minutes walk or, a 5 minutes walk maximum from the beach. And I didn't learn how to swim because my dad wouldn't let me go on the beach. He was an elderly man. He's not going on a beach. So he's not sending me with nobody because he didn't trust that anyone was going to beat me up, not even fight with me. I'm a little girl, like beat me up or something. So from being like having no friends, just being dirt poor, there was a point in my life where I literally, not figuratively, ate dirt. And I know that has been something that I was so ashamed of for the longest while, but that is my reality. When my mother was in hospital dying of cancer, we had no food. And there was like this perfect granulated mud under a lemon tree outside the house. And I used to eat that because there's nothing to eat. Literally nothing to eat. And that is what I ate on many days. And I know in my bio, which I wrote, and there's 100% true to it, I was kicked out of school because I was dirty. When my mother was in the hospital, I was attending one of the government school in the other island of Grenada called Carriacou. Grenada is a tri-island state. And, I was 8 years old, can't wash my school uniform by myself. Grenada wears school uniform. We have no food, much less soap. Who is having soap to wash clothes? And I had to walk 20 minutes to go to a cistern or a well to get water, to throw a bucket down the well, pull it up. There's frogs and stuff just swimming in that water. But that's what you're drinking and that's what you're bathing with. That's what you're cooking with, whatever. Get the water, bring it home and try to wash the clothes. But I couldn't wash the clothes by myself, like really good. I was a little girl, no soap. So the clothes is always dirty, not smelling good. It's not clean. When I go to school, little kids, they're like, oh, somebody's smelling. Oh, and they're making noise. And the teacher is like, Salisha, you're disrupting the class because the kids are mocking me. They're disgusted by me, and the teacher would be like, Salisha, you're disrupting the class. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, she took me out of the classroom and she walked me to the principal's office. That's like after maybe the third time it happened in class, right? Walked me to the principal's office and said, Salisha, keep disrupting the class. And the principal was like, Salisha, did you bathe today? And I'm like, yes, I did. And bathe doesn't mean like having that perfect shower, washing you down. There is no shower. There's a little bucket of water that I just carried with no soap or maybe a little piece of soap. So you're not really bathing clean. But nobody stopped to ask, where is Salisha's mother? Nobody knew or cared to find out. And I'm talking about the adults in that scenario. Didn't find out that Salisha's mother is dying of cancer. Salisha, her baby sister, who's 1 year old, and her little brother, who is 6 year old, is living in an old house just down the street on their own. They have an older brother who is in and out, but it's just them that is right there. Nobody tried to find out. So then the principal told me, she's like, you see this house up there? She's pointing to her big house up the mountain. She's like, if you dare come back to school and you haven't showered, I will strip you with off that clothes and I will walk you up to my house and I will bathe you and bring you back. I showered the way I knew how to shower. I showered with what I could have showered, but it still wasn't good enough. My clothes was not smelling good because there's no soap, or a little child can't really properly wash their skirts, like the big skirt. Oh, a uniform is made of a specific material. It's not just anything you wear, right? So I never returned to that school. And before long, we were told, my mom The doctors have given up on her. And she was in the hospital in Grenada at that time because Caracou's hospital was too small to take care of her with her cancer. So they sent her to Grenada. And the doctors in Grenada were like, we can't really help her. And we needed to come down to say goodbye. At 9 years old, we were packed up on a boat, came down to Grenada to say goodbye to my mom in the hospital. But education, as I said, and then that bullying didn't stop there. Like I retained a grade level while I was in Caracou before my mom died, while she was still alive. I retained another grade from kindergarten to grade 1. I didn't get to go to grade 1 because I couldn't write. I couldn't do anything because I barely went to school. And then when my dad got me and I was living with him after my mom died, after the orphanage, I also retained another grade level. I was supposed to be in grade 3. They put me in grade 3 for like a couple of days, a week or weeks or so. And they're like, this child cannot do this stuff. So they put me back down in grade 2. So by the time I was 12 years old, I was in grade 4, 12 years old in grade 4, which usually you're 9 years old in grade 4, 8 or 9, not like 12. But education was really my only lifeline because I had no friends. And all I did once I learned to read at age 12, all I had to do was just read and do homework. There was no friends to play with. There's nothing to do, no TV in the house because we didn't have a working TV. We mostly all the time had electricity for the most part, but there was no TV. So I never watched TV and I had no friends. So all I did was homework. And then I realized that every term, my name was being called. Every term I was getting a certificate for being top 3 in my class, term after term after term. And that is when I was like, okay, this is how I get out of this life. This is how I become seen, not for the little play on the street where nobody cares about you, but for somebody of impact. And that is why I have valued and have such a strong value on education, even up to this day.
So it's so far beyond just enjoying learning. So it was both a lifeline, but also you're like, oh, this is cool.
I absolutely love learning. I absolutely love it. But me, it's not, oh, I just want to get a new degree. It's not like just that. It's more like, hey, this is my way out of poverty. And this is like a way out of poverty for everyone, not just for me, even like my family. I have a daughter who's almost 12 and she is reading. And I cannot even tell you how empowered I feel to know that my daughter before the age of 12 is reading and doing exceptionally well in her academic studies. And I'm like, oh my goodness, had I not learned to read and I had a kid, maybe she would just be in that same predicament, just not being able to advocate for yourself, because reading empowers you. You understand who you are, how to become a better version of you, and how to stand up for yourself. And that is the power of knowledge. That's the power of education. And that's why I keep going after it too. But just the history of it was because it was my only lifeline at the time, and it became a part of me.
Do you ever go back and visit, like in your mind's eye, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old Salisha?
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, yes. And to be quite honest, it was very hard. One of the things that I'm very good at is suppressing things. I suppress things to function, which is not always good. So like I have suppressed Salisha, the 8 and 9-year-old, like the emotions, the trauma, the sadness, the happiness, some of the things that comes with those past experiences, I have suppressed it. And as I am now as I'm now working with the Shara Foundation, which is specifically for me, is actually healing the 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old Salisha that I have not touched until now. Everything with Shara Foundation is working with those children who are in exactly the same position that I was in. They are the same 8-year-old in the home or, not performing well in school or so forth. So as I do the work and I move forward with our initiatives at the Shara Foundation, it actually heals that part of me. And And yes, I am forced to go back to that person because when I go back to 8-year-old Salisha and 9-year-old Salisha, it actually helps me to know how to best serve those children in the orphanages that we're working with right now. But for the longest while, I kind of had suppressed it because I'm so ashamed. I didn't want anybody to know that I ate dirt and that I was scorned and bullied and I lived in an old house with an old man. Like I used to feel so ashamed of that part of me. But then now as I got a little bit more wiser, I feel like that is what makes me strong. The fact is, if I was not living in an old house with an old man and maybe I had other things distracting me, I may not have taken up like reading and academics as seriously. Like I mean, I wouldn't have excelled in my school the way that I did because for me to even come to the US, it was a sponsorship. A family sponsored me. I had to have finished secondary school to get into a US school at that time. Right? Maybe I could have come maybe on a different kind of visa or something and then do the GED, but you needed a high school diploma to get into college. And had I not, completed school, that wouldn't have happened. So I am seeing all those past things as actually things that were working for me. They actually came together to create this colorful, crazy, dynamic version of the person I am today. I needed all of them to happen, even though it's hard to even like remember it or to live it right now, but it's definitely shaping me into the person that makes me me.
That's beautiful. Everything that happens outside of us is an invitation to go inward and see what inside of us feels shaken or wobbly by that external piece. And it kind of is a navigation system to see what's in us to come up to heal. Every time through the young kids that you work with, you're reminded of some of those most traumatic experiences of young Salisha. And to your point, through the work you're doing, you're helping heal. You're becoming the adult version that she needed back then. You are the adult she did need back then. So a really cool exercise, if you're up for it or if it vibes with you at all, is like you literally, as current day Salisha, approach her 8-year-old Salisha in one of those traumatic experiences and provide her what she needed in that very moment. That every time you do that, that part of your heart, that those versions of Salisha heal.
Yeah, that is powerful. Thank you.
Tell me about Shara. How did you get the name? What is Shara Foundation and what are you excited about? What's coming up?
So Shara Foundation, the name, so the idea behind the name has always been there. I mean, since I was like 15, I knew that I wanted to support children. Like I knew that, and I actually went to college to become a doctor. Like I said, oh, I'm gonna be a doctor. So my bachelor's degree, my initial startup was like, what is it, like social science, some science, maybe biology or something like that. But I'm like, oh, I'm not I'm not that person. So I switched to English, right? But anyways, my initial goal, I'm like, I want to be somebody to help children because I felt like I was denied the help that I needed, like as a child. And I'm just thinking about all like the trauma that I had, right? With, so my mom died and then I was placed in an orphanage and I actually never got to go to my mom's funeral because she came to Grenada. She was in a hospital in Grenada. They gave up on her. And our house where we were living was in the other island called Carriacou. And she went back there and then she died 2 weeks after returning there. Even she didn't have like somewhere else to land in Grenada, like to stay at the time. So she went back to Carriacou and I was in the home and we had no money, which was maybe like $10. I don't know. It wasn't even that much money to take a boat to go to Carriacou, to go to my mother's funeral. I didn't get that. And there I am, a little child in a home. Your mother is dead. Like you were 8 years old and you have to go to the hospital and tell your mommy goodbye. What does that even mean? How do you go tell your mother, oh, bye, mommy? And like, how do you do that? And then you're just in a home and there isn't no comfort. So even to this day, my very close friends know that I love hugs. I think all I wanted, even though I couldn't go to my mom's funeral, was a hug. Just a hug to say it's okay. And I think that's like, it's a thing that I wanted, the things that I need. Like just give me a hug. Like, I love hugs. Hugs heals me. Hugs gives me warmth. It gives me comfort. It just gives me the things that I was denied, which is okay, you can't go to the funeral because there was no money, but just a hug would have been a lot. And there was no kind of like, I don't remember receiving any kind of like support because maybe they didn't even know how to support a child like me. And that is normal, right? And that is why I'm also passionate about leadership, helping employees to understand how to do their job and not just like do it for the money. You're not a machine. You're not a machine. You're not like AB. It's like doing it because that's what you love to do, or like being involved, like seeing the human sides. Like I don't like the idea that people are treated as machines. You clock in, you clock out. Like it just blows my mind. So that's why I even went into leadership because I'm so passionate about empowering and engagement and stuff like that. But your question was, how did Shara Foundation came up? I know I've kind of going everywhere.
I love your heart and passion and your releasing. You are being so human and gorgeous and exquisite. And I feel your true essence. This is beautiful.
Okay. So I was saying I always wanted to give to the kids what I felt like I needed to get. And that has been since I was like 15. So by the time I went to college, I always knew I wanted to take care of kids in the home. It's just an idea that I had, I'm going to take care of kids in the home. I'm going to teach them. So I went into English because I'm like, if, Grenada, our native language is English, but we speak Grenadian Creole, which is a broken form of English. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to teach them how to read really well, like proper English, so that's why I went into English major. I even like went and like looked into social work because I wanted to just take care of kids. Like my heart was to help children to be, the things that I needed that I didn't get is what I had always visioned giving to them. So with that idea always being there, then me being in Grenada, like say back in Grenada, then there's this American family that got to know of me. And their daughter was the one who I met. She and her husband was going to SGU, which is the medical school in Grenada. I met with the daughter and the daughter was like, oh, do you want to go to school? Do you want to go to school in Hawaii? And I'm like, really? Like, I didn't even have a passport, much less go to school in America. Like, what does that even mean? But anyways, it happened. Her parents anonymously sponsored me. Like, she never told me who the sponsors were. They just anonymously sponsored me, paid for my visa fees, every fees that needed to be paid for. I later learned that these people, her parents, they literally went to Hawaii. They flew to Hawaii, went to the school, asked like all the questions. How much would it cost for a 4-year degree, and how can payments be made? They found out all the information and they said, okay, we can take care of this child. Like, we'll help her to go to college. Come here. And they did everything. So I never really got to know who is these anonymous people. They communicated with me with letters, but not with their names or anything. Like, I never knew who they were. But there was one Christmas that their daughter, who I got to meet, she wanted me to come spend Christmas with her, while I was in college. So I came, and it was actually in Utah. Like, so she and her family was in Utah, and she wanted me to come to Utah too. And I got to come to Utah. And then her parents, out of nowhere, well, they came in Utah too, but we stopped at a gas station. So our cars intersected. So I was with that lady's car, their daughter's car, and her parents were in the other car, and we stopped at the gas station. And then they came out of the car and they're like, oh, Salisha, we love you so much. They've never met me in person. They've talked to me on Skype back when I was in Grenada with their daughter, right? And they're like, we love you so much. And then I got home that night. I'm like, how come these people are telling me they love me so much? Are you sure they're not my sponsors? And she's like, oh, no, I don't know. Like, she couldn't tell me because the requirement was they're going to do it anonymously. That was the requirement. But that Christmas, eventually, they couldn't keep it anymore because I'm like, what is that? They're like, oh, yeah, we are your sponsors. And I felt like so grateful. Then I went back to college. And then in January, I got an email saying, hi, Salisha, we were thinking we would like to adopt you. I was 21 years old at the time. And I'm like, what? Oh my gosh, like these people, they probably think I'm an angel. I'm not an angel. Like, I was just so scared, excited, don't know what does that mean. And they're like, oh, we'd like to adopt you, and I'm like, whoa, But anyways, in April of that year, they adopted me. It's like 14 years now since I was adopted by this American family. So that lady that I met, their daughter, she's not my sister. She's now my sister. And the mom, so when we went to court, like, to go to the judge in California, I got adopted in California. I'm sure the judge was like baffled. So the judge was like, are you guys willing and understand you're going to take this child and treat her just the way you treat your other kids? Because they have 4 biological kids, and the kids are all grown up. I mean, we're all around the same age. Most of them are older, except one is younger than me, but 2 years younger. Like, we're grown, so that one would have been 19 by the time I was 21 when they adopted me. And my adopted mother looked at the judge and said, yeah, she is the 5th child I've always wanted. And my heart, I could never forget that. Like, that is like the most powerful sentence that this American family, out of nowhere, this lady said, I, Salisha, the person who was on the streets and nobody seems to know me, or, like feeling like I am a nobody, not that everybody didn't care about me, but just because of my circumstances, right? That there's somebody who wanted me, who I am her 5th child. She always wanted. So that was just so beautiful. But anyways, I got adopted, and then remember that dream I had of taking care of kids? I really focused on that, like, despite going to school, doing my master's in public administration, it's because I wanted to work in government, to work with government in Grenada, to definitely help with those children, the little me's. And those same adopted parents, they helped me with going to school to get my doctorate, which it's a PhD in organizational leadership, but my research looked at leadership and resilience, and drawing from a sample of 150 kids from Grenada, like those who live in disadvantaged communities or who are attending disadvantaged schools. I draw my sample from there. And because my goal has always been clear, to help kids like little Salisha. So that lady, my adopted mother, her name is Shara. And that is where Shara's name came from. And in 2020, right before COVID even started, they had come out to Washington, where I was studying. They came out to Washington State to visit me. And that, like, these people, my adopted parents, they're not humans. Like, they are not humans in that the level of love and care and support that they have for me, it's something that my mind cannot even understand. So they would come visit me wherever I'm at. They came out in January 2020 to help me with, by that time I was divorced. I'm a single mom with my daughter, who was about 8 at that time or so. They came out to watch her for me while I go to study sessions, because I was doing, my doctorate. It was my 2nd semester, taking statistics and all of that. So my mom and dad would help me with my daughter, and I would go to study. They came to visit. And then while my dad is helping me with my statistics stuff, helping me to understand all the crazy thing I need to understand. And me and my mom will have like conversations about being a mom, raising this child, like just talking to her mom to daughter. And then one day I asked, like, can I name Shara Foundation after you? Like, no, can I name my nonprofit in your name? And she's like, why would you want to do that? And I said, because you gave me something that I want others to have. Like, you don't understand, like, that sentence, and not just her saying something, that has been her truth from the time she adopted me till this day. She didn't just say it, she's doing it, like, every day. So I said, because of, like, you wanting me and the way you love me and the way you treat me, like, I want to love others. And then she was like, let me think about it. But then there's another time I asked her again, sent it to her in a text. And she's like, oh, that I will be honored. She said she will be honored. And her sentence is, every child deserves love and an opportunity to shine. That is what she said to me in the text, like after I asked her maybe some weeks or years. I can't remember exactly when I asked her again. And she said, yeah, you can certainly name your nonprofit after me. And then she said, every child deserves love and an opportunity to shine. So that is the philosophy or the foundation of Shara Foundation, where everything we do is to help every child to get that opportunity to shine, because they deserve that, just the way I was given. And just every time I feel like giving up, or I feel like, oh my goodness, or get distracted, I just remember, what would this world be like if there were like 5 more Salishas?
Mm.
What would this world be like if there were 5 more or 10 more little girls or little boys who born into circumstances that is not of their choosing, but then they had that opportunity to literally thrive. And when I say thrive, like I can tell you that I am honestly and deeply proud of myself, not just my academic achievements. I cannot tell you like how many other individuals that I have supported because my experiences, my knowledge, and my passion for self development and education. I have helped a number of individuals with pursuing their bachelor's, master's, and even their PhD, like literally helping them to achieve their goals in getting their doctorate or even getting another job that is going to better be suited for their family needs and so forth. That is what I have been doing for the last 10 years or so of my life. Now I am mostly focused on Shara Foundation, which is the little kids that I'm working on. But prior to that, my background was just enabling like emerging leaders, young women, young men. A lot of them is women, mostly women, but really helping them to get their bachelor's, master's. Like literally, there was one person in particular. I remember in 2014, she was like, "Oh, I want to go back to school, but I don't know if I can do my associates." And I'm like, "No, you can do it. Yes, you can do it." And I've worked with her through her associates, her bachelor's, her master's, and now she's a licensed mastered social worker who works at one of the top hospitals in New York right now. Somebody who was like, "Oh, I don't think I can go do my associates, like I don't know." And literally working with her, and I mean she does most of the work. You're the one who is doing your work. Sometimes you need somebody to coach you, you need somebody to just give you a hand, you need somebody to point you to the right resources or the right materials, or help you editing your papers. And that is what I have been to, and that is just one example. And I know that if there are other little Salishas or other little Sams or other little whatever your name is, that they can rise above their circumstances and to give back to their respective communities, the world would be like so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for doing what you do. We are all a bunch of little kids running around waiting for someone to believe in us so that to remind us that we can. There's no limit. It's just having the opportunity and the people around you to reinforce that you can. So, Salisha, I want to go to a post that you recently made on LinkedIn about this incredible pilot program that Shara Foundation is teaming up with in Grenada. And so I'll read a little bit about it, but then I certainly want to hear it from you directly. And it's something that I'm personally passionate about. Shara Foundation is thrilled to partner with Days for Girls International for a 2025 pilot program, Cycle of Empowerment Menstrual Health Initiative, designed to positively impact the lives of over 400 girls and young women in Grenada. Period poverty, and I want your expertise on this first of all, but I want to share something with you. What I've heard is a lot of people hear period poverty and they think about, oh, someone can't afford products. It's more than that. It's like, do you have access to products? So for instance, if you're in a place and there's one of those quarter crank machines and you don't have a quarter, technically you don't have access.
Oh, thank you so much. We are so excited to partner with Days for Girls International. They're an incredible global nonprofit that focuses on ending period poverty. And you are so right when you talk about it's not just the product, it's having access and even the education that comes with using the product as well as like the women's body. So they have an incredible program where they teach women and girls about their bodies. So they will have the opportunity to learn the full menstrual cycle. They understand the reproductive system. They would even learn about how to avoid STDs and stuff like that. So it's really, really incredible. We are so thrilled to partner with Days for Girls International because they have bases in like several places around the world. And we are doing a pilot program to see how it is received in Grenada. So Shara Foundation will be partnering with the Grenada Child Protection Authority, which is the agency that is responsible for the care and well-being of children. Within that agency, they do have 2 homes where it's our residential institutions where children who are either orphaned or abused or neglected live. One of their homes specifically is designed for teen pregnant girls, like pregnant teens. So most of the girls there have either been, well, have been sadly sexually abused and either had a baby or is currently pregnant or along those lines. So we are working with those girls and just going to teach them about their bodies and even let them know that they can recuperate from whatever would have happened with them in the past. We're also working with the New Life organization, which is an NGO in Grenada. It's a vocational school that provides a wide variety of trade programs for disadvantaged communities. So we're working with one of the programs there. There will be between 25 and 30 participants in that organization. And with the Grenada Child Protection Authority, there are over 200 of them. There are about 200. Then we're also working with one of the most academically and financially disadvantaged schools that is located in a community that is equally disadvantaged, and working closely with the principal. And she said they have over 200 young girls within the school that would really benefit from the support from Days for Girls. So with Days for Girls, they create this wonderful, it's called like a premium pad kit that it's actually washable. That is like the super interesting thing about it. And I do have a kit myself, and members of my team who are also currently doing the training that they have online, we all have a kit and we are going to be testing it just the way we want the girls to use it. We are leading by example because we want them to know that, hey, we're not going to ask you to do something that we ourselves are not going to do. And although we do have the privilege of buying the product, it's more than the products. There is so much knowledge that comes with that program because Days for Girls, they do advocacy, they do the educational component, and they also have the product as their third kind of pillar that they offer. So we're really excited.
You know, I understand that there's only so much a child of a certain age can absorb about their bodies or like what someone might call adult content, whatever. But what I would have loved to understand, and I started my period when I was 16, so older. I was a late bloomer, I guess. But even when I learned about it, 10 or 11 or 12, I was like, but why do our bodies bleed? Like, what is actually happening? Am I hurt? I don't feel that and I'll speak from my educational standpoint, I don't feel that we learned beyond, oh, if you don't have a baby, then you bleed. And it's like, wait, what? Like, what's actually happening? And again, I don't know how much a child can absorb, but it's worth maybe talking a little bit about, there's this amazing short video that shows how the uterus prepares in the 28-day cycle and then what happens when it sheds, and that's what causes the bleeding. I love what you're saying about the product and the period kit because, again, I was never taught how to use products other than put the pad on your underwear, and it caused really bad chafing for me. So I was always hurting. I always was in so much discomfort and pain. So I switched to tampons, but then that felt weird to me because I didn't know anything was supposed to go into my vagina. I didn't know. So again, I don't know how much a child could understand, but like putting something into your vagina can feel intrusive because you're like, oh, nothing has ever gone there. It was just so confusing. And then it just led to like something I just had to deal with rather than being like so beautifully biologically natural and awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, you brought up such a good point. That is so correct. The truth is, we don't get taught too much about it. And one of the things that I am really working towards with this program is really to debunk the stigma that period is terrible. Because we kind of have this, oh my gosh, you have your period, like you're disgusting, don't touch me. And I know that there's rooted history as to that. And that is primarily one of the reasons why people are kind of like eked out by the idea of washable pads. Because that thing is already disgusting. There's no way I'm going to wash it with my hands, something like that. But having a period is not disgusting. It's actually beautiful. And one of the strong things that I was reading a letter from the creator or the founder of Days for Girls. And she said in her letter, she explained that without periods, there would be no people. And that is such a profound statement. And it is 100% true. with no periods, there will be no people. So periods are great. And I know that it could appear like, oh my goodness, I don't want to be washing my pad. But when we have babies, like even if you put the actual disposable diapers on them and they have blowouts, you wash that poop and that pee with your hand. Like you don't play with it, you just clean it up. And the period kit, it comes with instruction as to how to wash it. It even comes with a bar of soap. So like Days for Girls, like they have thought about everything to make it work and to ensure that, give them the correct cleaning instructions so that they don't get like a bacteria or something like that if it's not cleaned properly. But periods are beautiful. And
So beautiful.
I am definitely hoping that the girls don't feel like ashamed of having like a washable pad, because it is okay to have a washable pad. I mean, even in our, like girls, we wear panties, right? Wearing panties, our panties get dirty and we wash it. Like whether it's period or not period, our panties get dirty and we wash it with our hands or with a machine. We wash it. We don't throw away our panty every time. So the natural process of having a period is just part of our bodies, and I'm hoping that more women, more girls can feel very proud and very happy and not disgusted by a natural part of their bodies.
Part of my work as an energy coach and healer is I now take many women through what's called a sacred womb healing. And it's a lot of generations of women that have felt the guilt, shame, embarrassment, pain, all from the womb space, whether it's from theirs or from their lineage. So I love this work. I love what you're creating. And I was talking with a friend recently about her teenage daughter. And I said, hey, how have the body stigmas shifted to like Gen Z? Like how Gen Alpha, Gen Z, how are they feeling? They're like, it's actually pretty incredible. These younger generations came out loving their bodies. It's such a cool awareness to be like, oh, this is something natural that my body does. So let me embrace it and love it. I'm like,
Right.
dang.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, when like looking back at when I started my period, I was like 12 and a half and I was living with my dad and he was an elderly guy. He was in his 70s. And but that generation, they don't talk about it. Like he never even told me the correct word for it. He would say, oh, go get your stuff for the time of the month. He wouldn't even say the word pads. It's like he would say, go get your stuff. Like to go to the store and buy pads.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a daughter who's almost 12 now. And I know like for me, the way I was ushered in when it was my time, it was like so reserved. Nobody's talking about it. So I started reading a book with her. Like there's this book that talks about, our bodies and how periods happen. I started reading her that book at an early age, maybe when she was like 9 or 10. I started reading her. So she knows about it,
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little shift based on like how I was raised. And I tried to not pass that part on in terms of being ashamed, even though it's still a little bit hard, like to talk about periods. Like she doesn't know when I have my periods. I still don't. Okay, I'm confessing here. I still don't tell her. She doesn't know because I'm still like, but I probably need to get brave and let her know it's okay. Mommy's having a period. But it just feels weird for me. But I do talk to her about periods.
Whenever someone asks me like how I'm feeling, I'll tell them exactly which phase I am in my cycle. I'm like, you know what? I'm in my follicular phase, so my estrogen and progesterone are ramping back up. So I'm starting to feel a little bit better and less tired. And they're like, whoa. And then I'm out here like I tell everyone exactly how I'm feeling because I think it's partly me reclaiming my lived experience that didn't ever claim it. Oh, Salisha. So as we start to wind down, what's something that you want everyone to know about Shara Foundation, about the importance of education as it relates to it was your way out? What do you want us to know?
Great question. Oh my goodness. Well, what I want everybody to know about Shara Foundation, oh my goodness. Well, Shara Foundation is like a dream that is now a reality. It is my legacy. It's the thing that makes my heart beat the most. It is what empowers me because I love to see somebody becoming empowered. Somebody who is shifting dynamically, becoming themselves and realizing their potential. That is what Shara Foundation means to me, like when I think about it. I definitely want people to know that we are just dedicated and committed to supporting children, especially those who live on the margins of society. I was one of those children, and my biological siblings are still practically engulfed in poverty. Like a lot of my family members are still, fighting with poverty every day. And while I develop myself to support them, I am also working around the clock, day or night, to support other children who are even in a further engulfment of poverty than like myself, like the children who are in the homes or who are in those disadvantaged schools or even living at home, but it's not even what most people would call home. So that is what I want people to think about. Shara Foundation is commitment to education, to empowerment, and to health, as all three of those can just really fuel a person to become the best version of themselves. And once they then become that, then they then go ahead and support their own communities. So it's kind of like this domino effect. You're creating one to just positively impact the masses. Now, in terms of education, what I want everybody to know, education is one of the most powerful tools, one of the most powerful tools you can leverage. The lady who taught me how to read, her name is Miss Joan Hercules. She's still alive. We still talk. And I love and adore her, and I'm so grateful that she took the time to teach me how to read. But one thing she always told me, she's like, if you want to know the answers to anything, open a book. The answers, the things are in a book. Like, so she always tell me like, or if you want to keep a secret, put it in a book. Cause a lot of people don't like to read. So when I was like giving a hard time to read, she was like, oh yeah, if I want to hide my secret, I'll put it in a book. You'll never know. But then she's like, if you want to find answers, open a book. And reading and empowering yourself, being able to advocate for yourself, it's one of the ways in which you can become like a strong citizen in your community, or to become an empowered or an enabling catalyst in your community, in your family, in your group of friends, because it really propels you to become who you're destined to be. It propels you to support others. So education is the key. I mean, I think my middle name should have been education. Just kidding. That's how passionate I am about the idea of education, and not even the idea. It's the process of learning. You become better each day. So like just a personal thing, I have been walking 3.1 miles. It's like a 5K run, but I've been doing it walking, and I have been doing it for some time, but when you start off, it is so hard. Your body is like so tired, but then you get better. I'm not even that tired as I was in the beginning. And that is kind of what education does for you. It helps you to just become better than what you were yesterday. You learn something. It is the process of learning, and not just, it's not just getting a college degree per se. It is that experience that you are presented with when you are going through that process. It just gives you so many things, like, discipline, motivation, realizing that, wow, I can push myself. I'm stronger than I thought I was. It's those experiences that the process of education does for us.
Amazing. Salisha, where can we find and support your work?
So Shara Foundation has its website. It's sharafoundation.org. You can find us on our official website. Also on Facebook, it's just Shara Foundation. On LinkedIn, it's also Shara Foundation, as well as Instagram. We're on Instagram. We try to put updates there on the things that are happening, so you can follow us there, so you kind of see, what's going on. On our website, there is a form that you can submit. It's under the contact us. You can submit a form if you're interested in like becoming a volunteer or getting our newsletter that we're working on sending out quarterly. So you can stay involved in that way. You can also donate to one of our programming. We always do an educational programming that really focuses on schools. Then we have the empowerment programming that focuses a lot on the homes. But we do education and empowerment in both schools and homes, but education a lot of the times focuses on school supplies and stuff for the students in the schools.
Closing remarks as we wrap up.
Well, first, I want to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. And I know in the beginning, for our conversation, I did tell you like how healed I felt once you started talking, and you have that energy. You mentioned that you are an energy healer, like you have that energy that comes. I'm so grateful for that opportunity to sit and chat with you. I am grateful for the listeners who are going to learn a little bit more of my story, but not even so much my story, but the untold stories of hundreds of other kids in Grenada. And eventually we hope to go outside of Grenada, but because of my background, my research, and my current partnerships, I am most well positioned to support children in Grenada right now. So I hope that I can garner a lot of support so that we can expand to outside of Grenada in the near future. And I want to say that if there's one thing you're thinking about like doing this year, even if you can just spend a few days of the year where you support a person, especially a woman, like mentorship is so critical. And becoming a mentor for somebody does not mean that you're spending your entire weekend, your entire week. You're not spending all that time. Sometimes it's just a phone call once a month. Sometimes it's a suggestion for a book. Sometimes it's just a referral for a job that can make the world of difference in the life of one person. So one of the things that I always ask of, or I always encourage people to do, is to mentor one person. Choose one person that you can check in, dedicate time to check in, commit to their growth, just every 3 months or so, quarterly, just connect with them and provide a little support to them, because it does go a long way when you support at least one person.
Thank you, Salisha.
Thank you.